All right, so this is going to be a demonstration of the drum and bass project. And I think what I'm going to do is use notes from the minor pentatonic that we talked about in the musicianship lesson. So I've already kind of taken the time to set up a session here that's got some instruments, because at this point we should know how to create instruments, so I don't want to waste time doing that over and over again. And for my bass instrument, I'm going to go ahead and record enable that so that we can hear the notes. You might remember that we had the minor pentatonic scale, which featured an A, C, D, E, and G. And so I was just kind of playing around with some ideas using some of that minor pentatonic scale. And something kind of came up for me that I was kind of feeling at an up tempo. 1, 2, 3, 4. For the project, I'm looking for kind of a 2-measure pattern. So maybe what we'll do is just play half of that and then half of just an A. So we get something like this. Or some variation of it. So I think what I'm going to do in this case is I'm going to, since I heard the bass line first, I'm going to go ahead and record the bass vamp, see if I can get a clean version of that, and then I'm going to create a drum set groove that works with the rhythm of that bass line that I came up with. You could do it the other way around. You could start with a drum groove and then come up with a bass line that fits the drum groove, but in this case, I'm kind of thinking about that minor pentatonic, and for whatever reason, these notes kind of came up to me. So let's go ahead and record that and see what it sounds like. Oh, 1, 2. So I think this time I'm going to make it into a 2-measure vamp by playing the pattern sort of first half and then maybe just hanging out on an A. 1, 2, 1. So that's cool. I like that. So I'm going to come over here and kind of trim this up a little bit. Notice I'm still in grid mode. So I'm just going to pull this back over here to bar 3. And those first notes are kind of a pickup. So it should go something kind of like this. Cool. So now I think I'll just clean it up a little bit, hit it with the old quantize. We're set for straight 16th notes. I think that's going to work. Let me just apply it and listen. Cool. So now we're definitely in the pocket. So I've got this bass line, and now I'm going to come up with a drum groove that fits with it. And I think I'm going to start with the kick and the snare. So just make sure that this is turned off down here, the record mode replace. Otherwise, it's going to delete the first bit when you go back and do the second bit. So I'm going up to my drum track. I'm record enabled. And I'm going to hit return or enter to go back to the beginning. And I'm just going to play the kick and the snare part. So let me listen to this. 4, 1, 2. So I'm going to try to catch the 2 and the 4 with my snare drum, and then I'm going to try to pick up some of those bass notes with my kick drum. Cool. Let me play even simpler. Yeah, I like leaving a little bit more room in there. So let me clean this up a little bit, just get it in the grid. See how it's grooving. So I hope you can hear how the kick drum is phrasing rhythmically to match what the bass is doing. And so that's kind of one of the big things about this project is trying to come up with a bass line, but also a drum set groove where the two are kind of working together in tandem. And that's kind of what makes it work, right? When the bass and the drums are on the same page and rhythmically they're listening to each other and they're doing something that fits. You don't literally have to play every note of the bass guitar part with your kick drum, but it's great to hook up on at least some of those notes. So just being the drummer that I am, I want to go back and just add a few subdivisions. Here we go. So I'm going to add some hi-hat to this. Again, I'm not in record replace mode, so I can just go back and lay this on top. Here we go. Oh, 1, 2, 3. Cool, nice. Hopefully you can hear that I'm kind of phrasing the hi-hat so that it's got some accents in there. It's not just all static and the same. It's one of the reasons why I like to play things in on a keyboard or on a drum pad, because I can introduce some expression in the part and give it some dynamics and some shape and make it just feel a little bit more human. All right, cool. So now we've got a bass line, we've got drum set, and another requirement of the project is that you add a little bit of percussion to this. So I'm going to jump down to my percussion track. And for this, I'm going to put in headphones because I don't want to have my speakers too loud so it gets in the mic, but I'm getting to the point now where I kind of want to feel this in a more visceral way. So I'm going to put on headphones so I can hear it nice and loud. All right. So here we go. I'm going to add a percussion track to this. Yeah. And by the way, I'm using only sounds in the Presence sound module. This is for those of you who are using Studio One Prime. I think Presence is the only voice they give you, but there's a lot of stuff in there. So even with just these basic voices, we can still do some pretty nice sequencing. So here we go, back to the beginning. Same thing, I'm just trying to find a part that kind of fits in the cracks, that doesn't get in the way. And I think just one more thing, just a little bit of shaker on here. Cool. I like it. So now I've got my three basic parts. I've got drums, bass, and percussion. I'm using the minor pentatonic scale, and I've got a 2-bar phrase that's just playing a vamp over and over again. So to finish out this project, I would want to extend that for 32 bars. And then, of course, just like we did in earlier projects, the drums are going to evolve, open up, change sound sources, the percussion can change. The bass line can stay the same all the way through. That's cool. But compositionally, I'd like to see the thing shift gears about every 8 bars or so. So that's what it would look like if you did this project as a vamp.